Poinsettias are America's #1 selling container plant, and there's a lot of research that goes into producing these plants. And joining me today is Bruce Dunn, Assistant Professor of Floriculture. Hi, Bruce.
Hi, Kim. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Well, you've been doing a lot of research this season with poinsettias and a little bit of different work. Can you tell me about some of that?
Yeah, we usually try to trial a few different poinsettias. This year we have both Eckie and Syngenta poinsettias. And besides just growing them for the growers, we usually get at least 15, 20 different plants of each cultivar. So instead of just having that many large numbers, we thought this year, working with Dr. Schnelly, who does extension ornamentals, that we'd try growing some poinsettias in a colder house and some also in a warmer house.
And what was some of the thinking behind that, using the cooler temperature?
Right, we were kind of thinking to look at, because a large portion of the cost of growing these poinsettias is with the heating, the cost of heating. So we thought that, okay, if we can try to control that by growing them colder, that maybe the growers could make up in profits. And this isn't really a new idea, but this is just something that we wanted to try.
Well, and energy savings, of course, are going to benefit all of us, so it's a good time to try something like that out again. What are some of the effects that you've seen on the plants as they've developed in the two different temperatures?
Okay, well, here we have some that on this front plant here. This one was actually grown in a house at 75 degrees during the day and about 70 degrees at night. Okay. And this plant here was actually grown about 65 during the day and about 60 at night. Okay.
And you did that for all the cultivars, had them in the two different temperatures.
Right, however many that they sent, and actually I think it was Syngenta sent us about 17, and Eckie sent us about 23 different varieties. So we had about 40 total this year to work with, and then yeah, we just split the numbers between the two houses. So as you said, you asked some of the differences that we were seeing with the houses. Actually, with these, the ones that were growing colder were actually the flower the bract color development that showed up was actually a couple days later than in the warmer house.
So it's going to affect the timing of when you start forcing these as a grower.
Right, and that's something to keep in mind, that if you want to try growing these cold, that you want to find the earlier varieties that'll develop in time. Because if you have some of the later developing varieties, actually they say that growing them cold can delay it 1 to 2 weeks for growing it. So it's also that you want to pinch them a little bit earlier too.
Okay, and with some of the different cultivars, you saw different effects. This one I could see quite a difference between the two.
Right, we happened to pick a couple of them earlier on that were pretty close to similar height, but in some cases, such as this cultivar here, that there was a difference in height. So for some of these, it was about an inch or two difference.
And the bracts are much larger.
Right, right. So also with these, so this one's actually grown in the warmer house, and you see here in the cooler house. So with the cooler house, you're actually seeing smaller bract size.
Okay.
Now, but you can also see too that the flower and the color, the intensity is actually a little bit brighter here in the warmer house.
In the warmer house, and that's true here on the polar bear as well.
Right, with the polar bear, you can see here that it's pretty easy to notice the difference, and also the amount of color too, and that these are a little bit more delayed. So that's another thing that you have to keep in mind too, is that growing them colder, they're a little bit slower to grow. And so if you think about that, then also if they're growing slower, you might also have problems with the fertigation too, applying the fertilizer to them. So make sure that they're not deficient.
Okay. Overall though, did you find, were you happy with the plant production in the cooler temperatures?
I was, but again, it depends on people. I guess that's the good thing about plants, because there's all different sizes, shapes, and colors. So it depends on what people want. You know, I have no problem with these right here, but like I said, this is actually probably about 4 inches shorter than what it should be. Okay. But for someone that, you know, maybe wants to consider thinking if you have it on your table for Thanksgiving, instead of having a really large poinsettia that you have to move, or maybe if you have to travel, that maybe one of these smaller, compactor ones might be of benefit to you.
Might be more suitable. Now, I found it interesting, we were talking a little bit about the production, and timing is everything for a poinsettia producer, and there's some different chemicals that you can apply to adjust the growth habit as well.
Right. So that's the thing. You're starting to grow them, and it all depends on the weather. So the warmer days, the faster it's growing. And then right before the bract color starts to take place, you have a chance to hit it with the plant growth regulators.
Okay.
And because after that certain point, then it can affect your bract size. So at that point, you need to kind of decide, and you can. There's also graphical tracking programs. ECHI provides a free program. It's called On Target, and every week you can come out here and take height measurements and also measure your pH and EC to see that you're in range, that's getting the nutrients, but also with the height. And then at that point, then you can decide whether you need to hit it with the plant growth regulator. And also, I guess if it is shorter, we're looking at doing a study along with this trial of using chemicals with GA in it. Fascinations 1 and Fresco have both been.
And GA is the gibberellic acid.
Right. It's gibberellic acid. And so there's studies out there saying that if it's applied right at color change, you can actually get an inch or 2 in height out of these.
So you could get them to grow even taller. Well, it's very interesting. I never realized how much goes into producing the right amount of color at the right time. So it's very interesting to learn more about the production from you, Bruce. Thank you.
Glad to show you.